Ladies and gentlemen, get hyped. Debate Amongst Friends is back. Doc and Prof here coming at you live. And Doc, it's about time to coin a phrase. And we're going to say this a lot today, folks. Get your popcorn ready.
Get your popcorn ready. That's the phrase. That's the highlight. That's what we're talking about. That's what the media outlets.
It's more of a low light.
No, that's definitely the highlight of that game. that's how bad it was. The popcorn gate shattered.
There's no gate. Okay, we're still talking about a city that threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
True, that's true. But yeah, this game, I mean, 3 out of 4 quarters of the 76ers dominated the Wizards. John Gotti's giving me the sweep symbol. I don't know. I feel like Washington will pull one out because Philly always lets off the gas. And maybe Doc can help them, not this Doc, but Doc Rivers, the original Doc.
Honestly, they need this Doc over here, folks.
No, but they got that Doc. And I think he'll get it. I mean, so let's look at this here. Only 4 lead changes throughout the whole game, and only one time the game was tied. This time we're skipping Google. We're going straight to NBA.com. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Google, for giving me false information yesterday. How non-cool of you.
How very scrum bag of them.
But yeah, so the game was really, really well played by the 76ers. Obviously, still in the process, right? We're still in the process.
I'm not
okay. I got you. Hey, I gotta say it though.
I know you gotta say it. You're going to have to say it. I get it.
Yeah.
The fact that the Wizards shot an abysmal 9%.
9.1. No touching.
Oh my gosh. He did it. Wait,
but it's also
people don't know what that means. Like they don't understand that meme.
It's fine. It's still hilarious, even still. But also no touching on the free throw percentage at 63.3%. It's just not good.
This is not a team that is known for their free throw shooting.
Yeah, but that's just not going to get it done. And granted, the 76ers shot 68%, 42% from 3, and I guess that's the major difference here. Obviously, we talk about rebounding almost even 45 to 40, but the offensive rebounds clearly a problem in this situation for the 76ers, who gave up just a few more, which is very interesting. But it looks like the Wizards just couldn't capitalize on those opportunities, which could have been
they just shot
at the free throw line. Yeah, it could have been at the free throw line.
Horribly, honestly. Like if you really think about it, like it was just a bad offensive night for them.
Right. But 120 to 95, I mean, you're calling out the sweep. I'm thinking the Wizards are gonna, buckle down and try.
I did that because that's what everyone else is doing. I already said what was going to be my sweep in the first round already. No, the Wizards are going to steal one at home. This is going 5.
I mean, yeah, the Wizards should definitely steal one, and they might steal 2. I think
because Russell
Westbrook
is not going to get swept in the series. I mean, if he does, that's an anomaly within itself, but I mean, someone with a high motor as him, like he's going to try to will his team to a victory. Doc always mentioned it before with certain quarterbacks in the NFL, just willing their teams to victory. I think that's what Mr. Westbrook's going to do. And of course, we have to talk about what happened.
Of course.
When he tweaked his ankle and needed to go to a locker room. Stay classy, Philadelphia. Because for some reason, some fan,
which seems to be the theme of the episode,
decided to. People were heckling him. Yes, you can say whatever you want. You paid a ticket. I get that.
Right.
And I get that too. Like we understand. You can say whatever you want. I'm pretty sure we have said our craziness.
Nope, I haven't.
Watching a game.
Nope.
Either live on TV. Like we have that. Right.
Yeah. There you go on TV.
But the moment you decide to toss a projectile or put your hands on a player, that's crossing a line, folks.
Outside of just like a simple high five, and it's funny
Well,
because
again,
we've been
like, understandably, yes, you're putting up a high five and it's within the player's discretion whether or not he wants to reciprocate. Right now,
reciprocate,
probably
yeah,
not something that you want to do, but that's here or there. I ain't gonna go there.
right. No, but what's funny is that, watching all of these like wrestling biographies and you hear people, especially what we call heels of the business, right? The bad guys, when they're, I guess, in the 80s and 90s, when they were getting quote unquote heat, when kayfabe was still alive, hey, a person or a fan might take whatever they said in the ring, even though we knew it was fiction, and try to harm the wrestler outside of the ring.
Oh, that
You know,
happened way back.
and that happens a lot. That happened a lot back when kayfabe was alive. But in basketball, that's very unheard of. Like, yes, you're playing a basketball team, and you're riding for your team, but I
Mm-mm.
mean, it shouldn't get to that. It shouldn't get to that point where like throwing popcorn, or in the next incident, spitting
Yeah, that one
on
I can't.
players.
Yeah, we as an Knicks fan base do not claim that person who did that either. 'Cause
And that'll lead us to those New York Knicks. Go New York, go New York, go.
no New
Right?
York, no New York, no.
No, we're not doing a no charges, no. The Knicks are back. I keep saying it.
I'll
I'm gonna go
preface with
saying
this:
it.
any Knicks fans who were happy with that performance last night, don't be,
Listen,
don't be.
the Knicks have not won a playoff game in 8 years.
I don't care if
Right?
we didn't win a playoff game in 20 years. That
And,
effort
all
was
right.
terrible.
Listen, hey, listen. Don't put that gaudy cloud on them, because I'm gonna have to replay this for 20 years if they don't make the playoffs again. I will have to replay this for 20 years.
And you know what Prof is gonna do? He's gonna take that quote and he's gonna double down.
I mean, because I'm telling you, this team they're grooving. I mean, obviously they're young, and I think
Of
that's the
course.
thing. Like, they have a mixture of young and veteran players. Obviously, mostly none of them outside of the veterans have been in the playoffs.
Of course.
Some of them haven't been in the playoffs in a long time, as they've been on bad teams. Some of them haven't been getting burned. So I expect there to be some, I guess, some bugs in the system. The hype is real, the hype is high, but hey, listen, the bright lights are on. MSG is alive, and these guys have to show up. Only person I would say, you think about this Hawks team, you got Gallinari. Trae Young was in the playoffs, I believe, once, where I think they got swept, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe a year or two prior.
No, there wasn't in the
But you,
playoffs since like 2017.
okay,
So this
so
is his
then I don't think
playoff debut as well.
okay, this is his playoff debut. So you think about it, Capella, he's been in the playoffs. Lou Williams in the playoffs, but he didn't even really play too many minutes. So
Nope.
most of the guys on the Hawks, this is their first time. So Trae Young is really the only person that's really, really stepping up. And obviously, you got Bogdanovich and DeAndre Hunter, who are
Bogdanovich is
contributing as they
killing
should.
them in the first half.
Well, listen, listen. Somebody has to step up and play. Obviously, you're going to start double teaming, you're trapping, you're trying to get Trae Young out of the game, trying to get him off rhythm, 30 points. Somebody else has to step up. And clearly, the Knicks figured it out.
Well,
It
they
might have
figured
took
it
them
out
four
finally in the
quarters.
second half, limiting
Yeah.
Trae Young to only 4 of 8 shooting.
Yeah, it might have took them a long time, but hey, they figured it out. They're a scrappy young team. They got, the most improved player, which that's questionable and debatable to me, but they got the most improved
I've
player.
been right so far with these awards, by the way.
No, you're a beast. I never doubted you for a second. I wish that you were wrong, but I can't help that you're not wrong. But in this situation, the Knicks are going to continue to be a scrappy little young team, and they're going to continue to try to push the envelope. Now they go back to Atlanta, where, hopefully they can pretty much steal one. I think that's the only way they're going to really win this series, is if they go to Atlanta and steal one. That's the only thing they have to do now.
You got to steal both of them. I will say this, and again, I'm really, really harsh on my team, the same way Doc is really, really harsh with his team. So we're looking at
Well,
this.
but my team is really buns though. Yours is just like young. They have an excuse to be buns. Mine, there's no excuse. That's why I think I'm harder because my team really, really didn't have any excuse to play
No,
as bad as they
our
did.
first half was so bad. Like it
But
was
your team
really
is
bad.
young. This is the first time in the playoffs in 8 years. We're talking about guys who we had so many guys that we should have dominated everyone, but we played down to their level. I don't think the Knicks played down to their level. They're just still learning how to rise. That's why I feel like they're back. I don't care what you say. They're back.
I feel like
It's a
Doc is just trolling. So we're gonna go to
no.
we're gonna
So speaking of back, all right, that's fine. We can move on. Speaking of back,
wait,
the
and we
Utah
talked about the
Jazz.
spittle part, right?
We did.
Okay.
We're not gonna
I have
give
to
that
make
any
sure
more
we at
time.
least
Yeah.
talked about that because as much as I
Well,
like to
just to
say
give it
stay
really
classy.
quickly, Trey Young got spit on. We don't know who did it. It wasn't Spike, right? It's just some
It
random
was
person.
okay. Let's not put that out there in the atmosphere. It'll never be Spike.
I mean,
Okay.
Spike did start the choking.
Again, he didn't actually have any physical contact with Reggie Miller. He was heckling, which is
Hey,
different from actually spewing bodily fluids onto another person, especially in this pandemic era.
I mean, as long as it wasn't
I'll
Sergeant
say this:
Slaughter out there.
And that's in order.
Because maybe he wasn't really spitting. Maybe he was just talking out there. Maybe it was just Sergeant Slaughter out there. You, Trey Young.
Oh
You.
no. Honestly, I mean, and granted, this was near full capacity last
Sure,
night.
which is crazy.
Like honestly, and I know this is me being the heel, brick
Sure,
babe.
sure.
That fan needs to be banned. Like, especially in this pandemic, like that cannot fly at all.
Yeah, because if something happens to Trey Young, I mean that fan, yeah, like
Exactly. Now you're getting
that would
my
be
sympathy.
rough. I mean, I'm sure, and I know this sounds bad, and this is the heel part of me. I'm sure other Knicks fans would probably be like, shame on you, but Trey Young out of the game. Clap, clap, clap. I mean, that's just the fan. Like,
Yo, and the fans have been they have been the most lethal.
Right. It's a
to coin
lethal
a phrase,
injection.
lethal injection.
Yeah, lethal injection. It's almost like the poisoning of the tree between Alabama and
Yes.
Auburn. It's like, that fan. Oh, he is so bad. I can't believe that he's doing that.
Exactly.
But they're clapping behind the scenes.
It's
But
like, oh well, your dog did this to my garden, but you really don't like that neighbor. Like,
you
bad
really don't
dog,
like that.
bad dog.
Yeah.
Here's some treat, bad dog.
Yeah. So hey, it is what it is. But speaking of coming back, Donovan Mitchell returns for the Utah Jazz last night to go up against the Grizzlies,
and we predicted that the Jazz was going to win this game.
So yeah, I think the Jazz obviously they should win the series, but I mean I don't think the Grizzlies are gonna go out like suckers either.
No.
I mean obviously John Morant put up 47. Dylan Brooks, who we both said, hey, this guy is pretty much a star in the making. I mean, I think this is his opportunity. I've already seen people saying that the Jazz got beat by Prince because he had his little Jerry curl hanging and the glasses on. It was actually pretty hilarious. So you might hear Prince Brooks out there on the field. He might have to start his own T-shirt line. But he shot 71% from the field, 100% from three. He shot one free throw. I mean, the guy is really, really good. Perfect. I would say tandem between him and John Morant because John Morant doesn't really shoot the ball as well.
But what hurt Dylan Brooks, and not to cut you off, Doc, is
sure.
his ability to commit fouls. Like he commits too many fouls so fast. He only played 8 minutes in the first half.
Well,
with 3 fouls.
Think about it. So think about it like this. If he was a 90s player where they were allowed to play that defense, because he's a really good defender.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he wouldn't have so many fouls. He might have had 2. They would have given him the benefit of the doubt.
Are you now doubling down on the statement of the NBA being SAWFT?
Soft. I think it is. I think it's one of those things where, especially if he was guarding Donovan Mitchell, which I assume he was.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of those situations where you're going to give Mitchell the call because number one, he's returning. He's a really good player. He's getting up to star level. So you're going to give him the call, and it stinks,
It
but
does.
that's just the nature of the NBA. But looking over it, I mean, it looks like the Jazz, shot a pretty good, free throw percentage, 77%, to the Grizzlies 76%.
Hmm.
Obviously, the Grizzlies shot 34%. So this 3-point percentage was really good between these two. Over 30% is always good.
Absolutely. And we didn't even really talk about that first half of the Jazz dropping 74.
I was pretty surprised that this game was as high as it was compared to the games we had yesterday.
Hmm.
Like these games were really, really good, which we expected. I expected these games to be a little bit closer, but the only game that we had was close, of course, with the Hawks and the Knicks.
Yep.
But I expect
Freaking
Memphis and Utah.
the
Yeah, Clint
freaking
Capella.
like Capella had 5 blocks. The team as a whole had 12.
Well, that's what he does, though. I mean, he doesn't do anything else. It's either defense or rim running. Maybe a little rebounding in between, whoever else, John Collins and those guys. But back to this game here, it just looks like the Grizzlies just ran out of steam, so to speak. They got out rebounded. Um, the assists just weren't there, and like you said, the foul trouble. Even though it's even, looks like the fouls just didn't come in
Yeah,
at the
and
right
I
time
think
for
the X
certain
factor,
players.
like you mentioned before the series started, Dylan Brooks was the main reason why they struggled so much because Dylan Brooks couldn't stay on the floor because of those fouls, and
And yeah,
he couldn't be as aggressive anymore, which essentially opened up the floodgates for the Jazz to be able to score. With the reigning, defending, undisputed six man of the year, Jordan Clarkson. Congratulations to him.
congratulations, him. Yeah, and then you have, as I mentioned before the season, and I'll throw it out there, not before the season, before this postseason, Valanciunas, kind of not giving that same playoff play-in game effort, and it could be because Dylan Brooks was out and the floor wasn't as spaced.
Yep.
But I mean, 18 points, 6 rebounds. Obviously, he's going against Rudy Gobert, who's one of the best defenders, best center defenders, and he might go down in NBA history if he can continue this trend.
Oh, he's
Um,
already going down NBA history as the NBA's
oh,
best
best
defender.
defender. Oh God,
Yeah, you already know
I
people.
can't
You
believe.
already know people said
I
it.
I
Hey, I
can't
didn't say
believe
it,
you.
Doc. The
Oh,
people said it.
I can't believe you brought that up.
Okay, he literally said, "I'm gonna put the whole NBA on."
That's so bad. Oh God, I'm sorry, folks. I can't believe he said that. What a scumbag. But yeah, I think this is a good game. I think this might go down to 6 or 7. I don't think Utah's going to run away with this. I think they're going to have to go 6 or 7.
I'll go with
And
6. I'll go with
yeah,
6, but I'll caution on 5.
I can understand that. I think it's going 6 to 7. I don't think it's going to go 5. I think Memphis. I think John Morant's going 47. That's that's a mighty haul. I think he's really trying to put Memphis on his back,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he's doing a great job. But we have more, game threes coming up.
Yep, starting
Um,
tonight.
we got Milwaukee headed to Miami, Phoenix headed to LA, and Denver heading to Portland. 2-0 Milwaukee lead. 1-1, 1-1 for the Lakers and Suns, and Portland and the Nuggets 1-1 apiece. I like the fact that they're not like spacing the games out so that people got to stay up all late
Yep.
because your boy is just like, I'm not doing it. Just can't do it. So you'll get a chance at 10 p.m. to either watch the Lakers and the Suns or 10:30 on NBA TV if you have it. Nuggets and
I
Trailblazers.
love the fact that they
Uh,
put it on NBA TV, knowing that not a lot of people have it.
that's true, but I think you might be able to watch it on there on the website here on NBA.com. You might,
Probably not for
but
free. But you want to give a quick predictions for these 3 games tonight, sir?
not really.
because I think the Heat's gonna get this one. Something
It depends.
my gut is telling me the Heat's gonna run
I
steal
guess it.
this one.
I guess it depends on what Charles Barkley says.
Yeah, and literally,
You
like
might say
every
that.
time he goes his guarantee, the team loses. Like
Yeah, and
every time. Every time.
that's what I'm saying. So he might come in here and say, "I guarantee Jimmy Butler's going to go for 60," and yeah, exactly.
If you're doing DraftKings or FanDuel, don't take that bet. Just
don't take that bet. Do not take that bet. But if I had to look at it, I think Miami will give out a pretty good showing. But I'm not 100% sure. It just depends on what team shows up, how Eric Spoelstra uses his lineup. And we'll have to see how Miami comes out. If Miami can hold down Giannis and then hold down Middleton, then sure, they might win it. But
yeah.
if they have the same effort that they just had,
No,
the series is
no
over.
Yep.
This series is over. They might get swept at their home court in game 4. But between Phoenix and the Lakers, we'll see if Chris Paul's healthy. I feel like he's hamstringing them like he did the Rockets. It's the hamstring all over again.
Doc, it's been years. Get over it.
Yeah, that was the last chance I think we had at keeping the band together. And honestly, I think Denver's going to win against Portland. I think they figured it out, and they just have to put the foot on the gas and just keep going. So I think Denver will win. But you know what? We're going to be here tomorrow to discuss it once again. And again, you'll hear this episode on your favorite podcast platform. Wait a minute. I want to make sure you made a face.
I got an alert talking about Stephen A. Smith saying the Knicks got lucky last night, and
that's the first time you agree with him, at least. I mean, you technically agree with him.
I did, and that's what hurts so much.
I just want to make sure because I saw you make a face, and I was like,
the fact that scrum back Stephen A. Smith strutting around like a peacock.
Wow. That's why I want to make sure I stopped. I was like, I'm in the middle of this Pro Bowl really quickly.
Like a mother hen.
Wow. Well, anyway, I'm glad you agree with Stephen A. for the first time. But like you hear most of our shows, you'll catch it on your favorite podcast platform. But of course, if you do have any issues, which we doubt you will, you can always go to www.debateamongstfriends.com and be sure to tune in to Debate Amongst Friends Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as we're going to recap the beginning of the Game 3s right here on Debate Amongst Friends. Tune in tomorrow for more analysis, more news, and the reads.